for our area, I think we do agree that some severe could occur, and there's still a couple of scenarios in play as we move towards this weekend.
Absolutely.
So before we start the video, number one, I've got 200 people on my Facebook page. If every one of you shares the video, understand what that means. If let's just say you have 100 people following you, that would mean 20,000 people get an alert. Hey, WDRB Weather is watching the fact that we could see some severe thunderstorms. Mark Weinberg and Rick DeLuca are going to talk about that chance. Maybe you should jump in and watch the video. Maybe they don't care. But by sharing, what you do then is allow people to know it's available and to come in. And some might come in right now, Rick. Some might come in a little bit later. That is for our 3 Facebook pages.
The door is always open.
Right, and I'm on my page. We're on Rick DeLuca's page, on the WDRB News page. Some are not on Facebook, so we have expanded through these lives to now include YouTube. So if you're a YouTuber, you can go on YouTube and watch us there. And also, I know some people have the YouTube app on their TV and can watch full screen, and some love that. And then as we go through this, we're going to have some time here to ask questions. So somebody mentioned that they don't have sound. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I'm looking on mine, and there definitely is sound right now because I can see the closed captioning. So I do know that we have sound here. So anyways, we'll have time at the end of this for questions. And so you guys know the way that this will work is Rick and I are going to start with an analysis. We're going to go through what we think would happen. At the end, Rick, and I think this is one of the great things about these lives, is on TV, a viewer can't say, hey, Rick, you know, I heard you say blah, blah, blah. Can you clarify? Or Rick, I know you said it, but I live in this town. Can you tell me for me just so I could feel a little better? And that's a unique part of this.
Right. I mean, usually when we're on TV, we'll do the weather, and the anchors will be like, hey, I didn't listen to a thing you said. You know it's true.
It's so true. It's completely
like,
true.
I'm going here this Saturday. I have plans to go to a wedding. I have dinner plans. There's a football game. What's going to happen at this precise time in this location? And so they had that advantage, but now you do too. And that's what really changes this and makes this special, is that if you have something going on, we can really cater to you exactly the information you need to help make some, you know, more wise planning, if you will. And this is the first weekend we've had storms, Mark.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why we felt this made a lot of sense. What's different about this one is you actually have a lot of wind energy. You're talking about really, 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 I wouldn't say elite, but we're definitely talking about powerhouse winds. We haven't really seen anything like that since spring. I mean, spring's our big storm season. Summer has no mid-level winds because the jet pushes back to the north. But what makes this one different is that, you know, and you'll be talking about this, Rick, 1,000 feet above the ground to around 5,000 feet above the ground. These winds are cranking in the neighborhood of 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. And I know this will come up when we show that. You don't live 5,000 feet above the ground. I don't either. But understand that's where the storms are going to be working in, and that's the environment they can play in, and then that's what gives them the ability to do things at the ground where we live.
Right, and transport that momentum down to the surface, which is what we don't want to see, but it's something that's very possible. Mark mentioned this storm system has a lot of wind energy. It is a wind machine. Even at the surface, this is, if it doesn't rain at drop at your house, but it's going to, but even outside of rain and thunderstorms, there could be wind gusts close to 40 miles per hour this weekend, which will certainly start to whip those trees around and yank off some of those leaves.
Yeah.
But any outdoor Halloween decoration, you've seen how, I mean, I've seen so many yards that are decked out. So there's a lot of potential for the Halloween.
Those inflatables have become popular, Rick.
Yeah,
do you have inflatables?
I do not have them. I have a couple.
Those
pumpkins.
are controversial.
Well, yeah, some people, they go all out, and you know, I'm not going to say anything about them, but they are basically waiting for a windstorm to take them away.
So, when we talk about severe potential, Rick, we always like to start basically with the same graphic, and we show this graphic so frequently during the spring, but we don't always show it that often in fall. And I think it's a good refresher for us to talk about what you should be aware of and what we're looking at. So I'm going to start off here by talking about what specifically we would look for in the severe weather ingredient list. So the severe weather ingredients are what you'd think. You have to have these ingredients present. If you have all of them present, you're going to see severe. If you have all of them present in abundance, you're going to have a big event. If you have all of these present in a monumental amount, you're talking generational stuff. But these ingredients don't change from storm to storm. These are here on every storm. Rick, instability. This is generated by warmth and high dew points. Okay, so what is instability? Instability is fuel, and we use this a lot. You know, we're Ford country. The Mustang GT500. The Ford Mustang GT500.
Good choice.
Have you ever seen one?
Yeah, beautiful.
Mean, supercharged, tons of horsepower on that engine. Now, if I don't put any gas in that gas tank, who cares if it's got a powerful engine? It's not going anywhere. You got to put fuel in the tank. This is simple stuff. Well, Mother Nature got the memo. And the fuel in Mother Nature comes from warmth and high dew points. So that's number one of the things we will be looking at. Rick, the other one is, in a sense, the engine.
And that's the wind energy. Engine, wind energy, those go hand in hand. And you need to have a sufficient amount of wind energy coupled with fuel. Let's say you have really high wind energy, but not a lot of fuel. The storms will actually get toppled over by the strong wind energy. Now, on the other side of the equation, let's say you have a lot of fuel, but not a lot of wind energy. That typically is not the case during fall season. Fall season is usually the high-end shear and low-end cape kind of scenario, which we're seeing. But if you don't have enough fuel, then these storms go up and they collapse on themselves if you don't have the wind energy to keep those going. So really, you need the right amount of each ingredient to see strong to severe storms.
And then the last one here, and this I think is just kind of always the easiest one. You can't have severe thunderstorms if you don't have thunderstorms. So the forcing is one that isn't obvious here. So now you have the ingredient list, and let's dive into this. Rick, the Storms Prediction Center really has changed their philosophy this year. We have seen these severe weather risks issued earlier and earlier, and some might be, well, what's the problem issuing them way into the future? I mean, if you're going to end up with a slight, we are, why not put it out? There are two camps here. Camp A would say, we used to issue these slights on day 5 or 6 only when they're monumental events because we felt that we needed to get the word out way into the future. The other camp now is they're issuing these very, very early, and there's a camp, and I'll be honest, I'm on the camp that's like, well, if it's a slight, which is lower end, why issue it 6 days into the future when you're going to introduce massive spatial errors? Meaning it's not going to end up being in the right location. Somebody's going to get alerted 6 days out, change plans, and they may not do what they were going to do on the weekend. And then they're told maybe 4 days later, oh, by the way, we didn't mean your area. We meant actually 100 miles or 200 miles further to the west. And that's my kind of argument here. But it is something we have seen a lot here lately, Rick.
I'm with you on that one. The Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center in particular here just comes out swinging with these large risks several days in advance. And day 6 is when this came out. This was 6 days into the future, and now we've backed down to day 3. So each and every day we've been keeping an eye on who's included in this risk. And to be honest with you, the difference in data that we've seen day after day after day just proves to you the fluctuations that we can see. There was a time where it looked a little less threatening. There was a time that looked a little more threatening. Once we got the NAM computer model into the equation, we're like, okay, maybe this is something
that one actually kind of started guns a-blazing.
Guns a-blazing, but that's
awful.
That's when the internet fire starts and grows bigger. It's like gasoline.
So we've put on here for you what we don't show on TV, which is the marginal risk. The reason we don't show this on TV, and we came to this discussion as a team on this, is if we started to show the marginals, basically every day we'd be telling you, be aware there's a severe chance, be aware there's a severe chance. And 95% of the time you would see nothing. At that point, you would say, Mark Weinberg, Rick DeLuca, you guys are Chicken Little. Yeah. All you guys do is say the sky is falling. I'm never going to believe anything you say again. We agree on that, so we don't show it. But in this case, in a video, I thought that we can share this because it does allow us within our context, within a live, to kind of explain it. So, Rick, that's a 5%.
Yeah.
They're basically saying a rogue, strong, or severe could occur in our area, but they're saying basically it's not worth going as high as the slight risk.
And if you heard that, if you heard 5% and you were trying to make weekend plans, you probably wouldn't even take that into consideration.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I mean, that's the thing. It was more about the boy who cried wolf kind of thing. If you look at these maps in the summer, it's almost a guarantee that you're marginal every single day. So if we were to tell you that information, you'd be like, yeah, well, it's summer. We can get a pop-up storm. Those things happen. So we've decided to only tell you when we feel that the Storm Prediction Center has a high enough risk. And that way, you're just not overwhelmed by constant, warnings and risks and what forth. So we're just trying to make distill it and make it a little easier and a little less chaotic, I guess.
And in full transparency here, you can see that the slight doesn't include our area. The marginal does. Is it possible the slight gets expanded into our area? I think we both think that there are scenarios.
Correct.
that could allow that. And that's going to be part of what we talk about. So looking around the area right now, this is Storm View HD, and you can see nothing. This has been an incredible stretch. I mean,
this fall has really delivered.
It's been sensational. And I'll show you, I mean, you can see what we've got going on right now. There's some of the cameras around our whole area. It is just absolutely brilliant outside right now. This is something that we'll be showing you guys a lot in storm season. Rick, I have done lives for quite a while. And the lives, one of the things that I noted is when we do lives, when we're on TV, you call for lightning, there's one thing you can guarantee.
No lightning.
So in a live video, there's times where we're going to be on for a couple of hours. We're going to be able to show you the lightning storms that are happening as they're happening. Rick, we're going to now jump into, I'm going to take the fuel and I'm going to give you wind energy on here.
Sounds like a plan.
So as we look around our area, if fuel's generated by warmth and high dew points, it's not that warm right now. Around our region, it does get your attention that Kansas City is near 80 and Dallas is about 80 degrees. So it clearly becomes obvious that if this comes in peak heating on Saturday, there's going to be warm temperatures. I think we can probably do 83 to 85 in Louisville. And if we get any sun, we may be able to do warmer.
Especially with that breeze going on.
Yes, and that also, we'll come back to, is really important for the overnight. But Rick, we're starting to see the Gulf opening. And you can see the winds right now over the Gulf are out of the east-northeast, which is off land. Once those go back to the south, the door opens. Once that door opens, those dew points surge northward and they move into our area. Can they get here before the storm? Yes. So that would mean that if this got here during peak heating, we'd have dew points north of 60 and we'd have temperatures in the 80s. I say if, because that is something that we need to time it out still. But I think we can check the mark in terms of the dew points being high enough.
For sure.
And one thing that's going to be interesting as we talk about wind energy is the wind energy we know is going to be pretty strong, Rick, but that can also affect how much we cool at night, which is a key component to going outside of peak heating.
Yeah, because when you have wind at night, especially when it's from the south, temperatures, they can kind of level off. And there's even cases where temperatures rise overnight. I know it sounds ridiculous with the sun being down, how can temperatures rise? But these stronger winds can advect in warmer temperatures, higher dew points, and maybe even push those numbers up. And that's what's going to happen overnight Saturday. We're going to have those strong winds, gusts between, let's say, 25 and 30 during the day on Saturday. And then those gusts get even higher between around 35 and 40 for Sunday. The strong winds on the front side will bring in that warmth, that moisture we talked about. The back side, we get cooler air. Right in between, that's where you get your rain, your thunderstorms. And right now, we don't have a low nearby, but that thing is not too far away, Mark.
And that is a big boy.
It is.
Rick kind of alluded to why that's important for cooling temperatures, but Rick, this also has a massive core of wind. This is a low. We haven't seen anything like this in spring, and that's not to say that we don't get this all the time in spring. We do. But we don't, it's summertime, the jet goes north. Now this is not a zonal flat jet. This is highly buckled with powerhouse winds.
And wind energy, like you said, it's one of the 3 vital ingredients that you need to have strong, severe storms. This low pressure absolutely checks the box when it comes to wind energy. Just above the ground, like you said, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. Does that mean we get those powerful winds down to the surface? No, but that's where the storms tap into and drag that down to the surface. So you can get damaging winds and inside some of these thunderstorms because the wind energy is there, but you need a storm to grab that and pull it down in order to see that materialize at the surface. This low pressure, it's a big bad one. We have not had a low pressure like this in a while, Mark, like you alluded to.
Right.
And the time frame is very important because when you hear weekend, you think the whole thing. But this is going to be more of a late Saturday night scenario. And then
people
into
are
Sunday
sleeping.
morning.
I mean, it's that timing.
It's at night.
It's not ideal.
It's not ideal ever.
So from here, Rick, I'm going to let you then lead into, you've kind of walked us down the road of, it's a powerful low. We haven't seen a low this powerful since spring. It's not to say this is unprecedented because there's nothing even remotely unusual. But it's just that we haven't really had to talk about this much. So at this level, if the winds are around 35 to 40 miles an hour or stronger, we meet minimum criteria for organized severe weather. If they then get even stronger than that, now we've just put surplus into the bank.
So let's go through this a little bit, Mark. And just like he said, 40 is the threshold. That's the minimum. If it's below that, organized severe weather, it just really has a tough time keeping itself organized, sustaining. So here we are Saturday at 1 p.m. and above the surface, a mile above the ground, we have winds in the mid-30s. And then you notice that strong jet streak moving in, and that produces winds closer to 40 late day Saturday. And then they get even stronger overnight Saturday with winds 50, 53. This is at 9 p.m. on Saturday. And even in Seymour, showing close to 60 miles per hour. Those are ferocious winds that are coming along with this storm system. So here we are Saturday at 9 p.m., and you see the strong winds, and they pop even further off to our east, 70 plus. Wind energy going away after 2 a.m. Saturday night, which means after 2 a.m., we start to lose some of the wind energy when it comes to the ingredients. And that's important, which it actually carves out that window. If we can get that wind energy and also have sufficient fuel during that time frame that we just outlined, then we're going to have more of a problem, Mark.
So then we define that time of interest that goes right around sunset through around 3 a.m. when we would have our peak winds.
Yep.
So Rick then defines the wind as meeting minimum threshold and, in fact, going way into the surplus category. Some have asked me a lot of times, Rick, what's elite stuff? So we saw... So if I go back through some of our events, we had the April 2nd event where Louisville got hit by an EF3. At that level, I think it was about 70-mile-an-hour winds. We had an event that occurred also the weekend before that. That one was closer to 85 or 90. So the winds aren't in the elite category, but these are powerful winds.
Yes.
So we can agree that we've got wind, that energy that is strong enough to get the job done. So from here, we're going to look at what we refer to as CAPE. This is fuel. What is fuel? It's just like what you would think. Rick has told us we have an engine. He's told us that we've got enough of an engine to generate organized severe. I want to talk about what kind of fuel we're putting in the gas tank. So what are reference points here on the fuel level? So low-end fuel in our area, if you have the really favorable wind energy, would be maybe 200 to 300. And you would need a scenario where those winds shift direction as we go upward in the atmosphere. Rick, let's touch on that briefly. Are we seeing that big shift in wind direction as we go upward in the atmosphere? Because remember, that could survive with, let's say, 200 units of instability. So I think it's worth touching on that.
That's a very valid and good question from you. We have two types of wind energy. Speed shear, where at the surface to the top, the winds gain strength, and that's what we're seeing. We are not seeing the more dangerous directional shear where the winds start in one direction at the surface and then change going up in the surface. And that basically enhances the capability for severe weather. We do not have that, but we do have sufficient speed shear. I know a lot of the times, you know, as soon as you hear directional shear, tornado comes to mind, and for good reason, because we need that, we call it, so we have two. Backing is when we see winds going against one another, and then veering is when they're a little more unidirectional. And we don't have to worry about so much of the tornado threat when we have more veering winds.
Right.
But when there's backing, we do. It doesn't have that twist. And
that's a big deal.
I mean, you think of, it's kind of a simple analogy, but a figure skater. When they do the swirls, it's the same idea in the atmosphere, but it's just a simple way of thinking, okay, well, if she just, or he is just going straight, you really don't have any sort of that directional twisting going on. So again,
so we don't have
the directional shear, and that's really the take-home message with that.
We've just got what we have when we looked in there is it was very, very minor. It wasn't something that raises a red flag. And so when we then bring that back into what does this mean for fuel, we know that 100 or 200 fuel is not going to be enough. So think about if we don't have that twisting in the atmosphere, these storms, the air rises equivalent to how much fuel we have. And that is just the science of this. The more fuel, the faster it goes upward. So now I'm just going to ask you, let's just say you have a wind of 20 miles an hour pushing against you. Most of us will be able to stand up in that no problem. Now let's say you have a wind of 40 miles an hour against you. Yeah, that's kind of getting stronger. Now let's say you have a 70 mile an hour wind pushing against you. It's sustained. It's constantly pushing on you. If you're really strong, it's not going to blow you over, i.e. high fuel. If you don't have any fuel, the storm goes up, gets knocked down, gets knocked down, gets knocked down. And that's the scenario we're looking at. So low-end fuel would be a couple hundred, high-end fuel in our area is 4,000 to 5,000, and that does happen. Our severe weather events normally have about 2,000 coupled with obscene wind energy. So this is noon on Saturday. You can see the top right part of your screen. As we look at that, we're not looking at a lot. And what I chose here to show you is basically the end of days model. This model always shows obscene fuel. And I wanted to show this because I think it does give us at least a worst case scenario. 4 p.m., we're looking at about 600 to 1,000 units of instability on the model that we would kind of refer to as the worst case scenario. This is what's called the NAM 3K. But Rick, you defined that this is not the time frame. The time frame of storms is going to be later. And in fact, the wind energy probably doesn't come up till after sunset. So that means we don't get to take advantage of this during peak heating.
That's a good thing.
And what you notice here, Rick, is that fuel is not going to zero.
No.
But it is definitely minimizing as we go through the overnight hours. So this is something that's very, very important to note. So again, let's just go back to this. If we were to get storms in here 7 to 10, we would maximize fuel, and we do have enough wind energy for organized severe. In fact, I would argue that we'd have enough wind energy for maybe a slight or an enhanced risk of severe. But that is the if. We're not talking about ifs. We're talking about what we think is going to happen here. So we're looking at advanced track at 7 p.m. Rick, this is 7. This is the time we said that now we have fuel and wind energy over our area. And it doesn't look like there's anything in our area.
There is not a single storm anywhere nearby. You can see them approaching in our northwestern areas, but it is not even close to us. That front is the forcing. So we need that last element to create the severe weather. And there comes
something interesting. I'm going to ask you. So
is that
I know Rick DeLuca very, very well. Rick DeLuca and I have worked together for a very long time. Rick, as radar scientists, radar is giving us indications of what's going to happen now. In full transparency, I changed the data around, and I was the one that kind of put our graphics together for this. So Rick is seeing some of this new data that's rolled in for the first time, where I viewed it a second before. Rick, I'm going to ask you, what does the future radar show us out of Illinois?
Well, this makes me happy, actually. Is that line has a little green arrow. Can you point to that for me?
Absolutely.
Okay, there's a little green line out ahead of it. What is that? That is known as an outflow boundary. Thunderstorms, think of them running a marathon, and they ingest warm, humid air. At some point, they go, and the storms collapse, and they exhale this cool air, and that gets pushed way out in front of the storms. And what happens is that cool air stabilizes the atmosphere out in front of it, which means the environment for these storms to thrive isn't as healthy. It's not as good.
Oh, so Mr. DeLuca is seeing the outflow-dominated storms coming out of Illinois.
Which is
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
When we are sitting here and watching things, so in transparency, obviously we watch weather, but when there's severe weather, a lot of times you may not see us on TV, but we don't go home because in our business, what we have to do is watch and make sure. We don't play with the I think or maybe. We play with I'm going to be here and protect and serve, because that's what our job is if there's active weather.
And usually we handshake, like say Mark's here till 2 o'clock in the morning, and Jude will come in. We covered 2 to 2, 2 in the afternoon through 2 in the morning. And if there's anything that's concerning, if we have severe weather, there's no point in time where we don't overlap. So that way the coverage is constant. Quiet days, we definitely like to sleep in, but when there's active weather,
we put in the hours.
We put in the hours, and we make sure that there's no point in time where we don't have someone here watching.
So to Rick's point here now, Rick did note that there's a little green line out ahead of the storms. He noted that's what we call outflow dominated. Storms that are severe are normally ingesting that warm, humid air. If they push cold out ahead of them now, instead of getting that warm, humid air, that high fuel, they're now pulling cold air into them, which means they're going to weaken. This is not a if, this is not a and, this is not a maybe. This is the way severe science works. So as we look, Rick,
it's falling apart.
That is quite interesting at 11 p.m. You called this. And again, in transparency, I did not show Rick this data.
I'm just impressed the data is showing that.
It's showing what you identified. It's exactly
wild.
what you would think, though. I say this a lot. Let's not throw computer model out there. This is what social media, YouTubers have done. They have basically thrown up weather model data with the worst case scenario to scare you into insanity. And then ultimately we try to just bring you back down to reality. But that's not what we do. Just again, what we try to do is we look at data. We first go into the science. We look at the science of what Mother Nature says and meteorology dictates should happen. And then we use data as a tool.
Correct.
Just like a mechanic uses a wrench. Maybe it's a 12 millimeter they need. Maybe it's a 17. Maybe they need a socket. Maybe they need a torque wrench. We have tools. We're now live analyzing what the data indicates in terms of what our tools, how that goes back against meteorology. And Rick, you called it. It should look like that, and it should show outflow dominated, which shows those storms weakening. And this is as we go towards 1 a.m. And I think this is also really important to note. This is way after midnight, but also the temperatures are not cooling as fast as you normally would see because it's windy.
Wind. Yeah, you can see how fast those little arrows are moving. Those are the winds. The faster those arrows move, the stronger the winds. You can see they are from the south, which means the wind direction is important, and temperatures kind of hover in the mid-70s a lot of the night. Storms are approaching. We are now after midnight. It's not midnight anymore. It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
And at that point, we remember there was still a little wind energy left, but the fuel's coming down. So that there's I guess we're kind of identifying where this window where we could see some strong to severe mark.
And so this is high res data here. I'm going to make us a little bit smaller here. Let me go over to this guy right here, because what I want you to be able to see is radar full here, because I assume that's what most people are in here for. So this is 1 a.m. on Sunday. Rick, as we move towards 3 a.m., we see arrows that are cooking. We see our temperatures are not tanking. But we see intensity is flattening. Flattening, not going to zero. I think that's kind of one of the main messages. The data shows this coming in after midnight. It's not an ideal time. Number two, Rick, you alluded to this. Look at the winds at the surface. See how those are moving out of the southwest? They're moving out of the southwest here. At the surface, they're out of the southwest. Up here, they're out of the southwest. So what I'm telling you is the winds at the surface and aloft are moving out of the same direction. We're not seeing them shift as we go upward in the atmosphere. And while this may seem small, it is a major, major detail, because this tells us that if we're going to get any rogue severe, we're probably talking about damaging winds, and it seems a rotator or a tornado is less likely in this scenario.
Correct. Less likely. If we get warnings, it would be for damaging winds 50, 60 miles per hour. And we saw that the wind energy is there to be pulled down, but it is quickly going away as the night wears on. And by Sunday morning, we've lost pretty much all the wind energy, and the fuel tank is empty. It really comes down. But we're still going to get some rainfall here. This is a real fall front, the first one we've seen. And this, I know you don't want to turn on your heat.
Let's be clear. It's not about want to. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Okay. He's got
terminology matters, Rick.
Yeah, I know. You got the whole thing going. But the heat will be on in the DeLuca household in the second half of the weekend.
In the afternoon and evening, but or in the morning. But let's be clear, the air conditioning will probably be on in the afternoon as well.
Yes, that's just the way it works. I came home the other day and the AC was on downstairs, the heat was on upstairs, and there was windows open. I was just like, well, should we burn money? This is insane. So, yes.
So let's go through this one more time, Rick. I'm going to let you walk through it because I loved your analysis on this. Time frame, top right part of your screen. Let's have Rick walk through this. Rick, this is the 7 p.m. time frame. Storms look strong here.
Yep, they don't look strong, but not in our area. And then they approach. 9 o'clock, still no storms. 11 o'clock. Still no storms, getting very close to our northwestern communities like Paoli, areas like Seymour into Bedford. And then we watch this line come in as we approach post-midnight hours, and it lights up around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That should be the time frame where you will probably, if you're sleeping, you'll hear the rain pounding down. And it's not going to be just a quiet drip-drop rain. It is going to be a wind-swept rain coming through with some downpours. So you're talking about heavy rain, powerful winds. Could it be powerful enough to produce severe warnings? That's the question. And I do feel a couple warnings are possible, but more or less the common denominator will be some stronger storms overnight Saturday with heavy rain, with some gusty winds, some rumbles of thunder for sure. And not much more than that. And it's,
Yeah,
you know, I think a lot of people, you get storm anxiety, you get nervous. You're saying, I saw someone here on just a comment a long time back saying, well, I'm just going to sleep in the basement.
yeah, I don't think this is that nice.
Then that's what I was going to say. I really don't think that we're not talking about something where you should be nervous, sweating, you know, calling everyone, getting anxious about. It is not that sort of scenario. And that's a good thing we're here because, you know, that person was going to sleep in the basement regardless. So I hope you don't do that.
And then it's worth noting here, Rick, that Sunday afternoon data has been consistent in showing some 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. If we did get any breaks in the cloud cover, that would give us even stronger winds. So we go back then and go around full circle here. Saturday severe weather threat. We are under the marginal, again, in full transparency. Storms Prediction Center, they do have the slight going west of Evansville, including Paducah, Carbondale, Illinois. They did in their last update edged if the data, let's say, changed and sped this up significantly, which almost every piece of data is doing the exact opposite. If you're asking me why that happens, it's because the low is digging into the desert southwest. This is what the computer models always do. So those that are going to regurgitate models will tell you things like, oh, the storm has sped up or the storm has slowed down. No. The storm's gone the same speed that the storm always was going to go. Remember, there is only one baseline of correct. Computer models are trying to guess at what that is, but that is not the baseline. The computer models always move storms too fast in this scenario, and that's why if you look at reliable data, it's showing more overnight. Some might say some of the high res yesterday, and we would agree, showed it coming in peak heating on Saturday. Rick, we discarded those solutions because those computer models are notorious for having a fast bias.
A fast bias, and not only that, but it was at the tail end of the actual time frame that it samples. And usually the further out it gets, sometimes the data is not as reliable or as good because it's way far out and the actual window of time, the range that it does.
So what he's saying is if a computer model can only go to 84 hours out and it's best at, let's say, 0 to 48, and now we're looking at 84 and it's the last gasp, it's the last ounce of
frame. Yeah.
It's not, you can't say that you're doing your best work.
No.
That would be like you go to the gym, you've worked out for 2 hours, and then you get on and you do the heaviest set. It's not going to work out for you.
That's a good analogy.
You're going to be spent. And
Right.
the computer model, that particular model that showed that, is simply not going to be extremely accurate in that scenario. So this gives you then our analysis of what we think. We promised you guys that in these videos, it's not just about only analysis, it's about Q&A. So right now we're sitting at 9:04. Let's give about 10 minutes for some Q&A. If you guys have any questions, this is going to be the time to jump in on questions. Rick can read them. I can read them. If you're joining us on Facebook, please reminder, if you enjoy the video, let's see some thumbs up across the screen to know that you guys appreciate these. Some hearts if you guys are on Rick's page, on my page, on the WDRB News page. If you're on X, you can comment in there. Let us know that you appreciate it. And then if you're on our YouTube, we appreciate you guys joining us from in the YouTube. Let's open it up to questions now here. I'm going to remember, even sharing the video now is going to bring people in where they may have some questions and we can get those answered. And Rick Shelley's asking the first question. She says, I have a wedding in Bardstown at 6 p.m. on Saturday, probably lasting to 10:30 or 11. Windy, or what's the chance of rain? It's a great question. I know there are multiple weddings this weekend.
Shelley, first off, I hope you have a great time because the weather's going to be all right for that. Is it going to be breezy? You bet it's going to be breezy. We're talking about gusts around 25 to 30 miles per hour. That would be without rain. You're going to see some sun during the morning, but overall, it will turn out being a mostly cloudy afternoon. It's going to be breezy and warm, which for an October wedding, you know, it can be a wild card. This actually looks pretty good. It will be warm, so dress for the temperatures in the 70s. The wedding starts at 6, probably lasts until 10. So 6 you're dry, 10 you're dry. It's just going to be a little breezy, and it's just going to be warm.
I think something would have to change drastically to get rain out there.
Yes. So that's why I said I had a good time, because I think that's going to be a great event to go to.
So Crispy is saying, you said that the tornado threat is low. Are we talking about 2 to 5%? If I had to put a number on it, or are we talking about under 2? My opinion is under 2 because the winds, as I noted, are veered out at the surface. A lot of research in this particular area. You guys may or may not know my history. My background is storm chasing. In 1999, I was on an EF5 tornado. Some of the video that I shot that day when Crazy Famous got me on the David Letterman show, it actually led me to getting into TV. So my background is radar meteorology and severe weather analysis.
You can watch it on YouTube, by the way. Just sorry, I had to interject.
It is on YouTube, and I do the genes. The jeans and the sweater definitely always
Hey,
get me a little bit of ribbing
it's
in the weather center.
fashion changes with time. It's okay. It's you don't.
So to that, when the winds don't change direction with height, it's not to say you can't get a tornado. It's saying that you would have to push real hard to get there. So I would put it sub 2 based on my analysis right now. What direction is the wind coming from? Rick Mary's asking this in Jeffersonville. Let's go through Saturday and Sunday. I think generally, directionally, we're probably talking southwest on those.
Southwesterly. At some point, once that front comes through, Mary, those winds will change direction. They will flip over to the northwest. On both sides, the winds will be strong. It's a warmer wind on Saturday. It's a cooler wind. Actually, temperatures will play a trick on you. During the day Sunday, they won't be rising. They will be falling. And that's because cold air will be vecting in on the backside of that storm system. And if you get a little bit of sun, then those winds could pop up even higher because basically there's nothing blocking those winds from coming down. So please, it is going to be a breezy Saturday, a windy Sunday, a lot of leaves that are maybe a little crispy. They're getting knocked off the trees for sure.
Tina's asking, saying the Crashers are playing in Corydon at 7 p.m. And I assume that's on Saturday. Love the Crashers, by the way. They know I love them. So 7 p.m. Corydon, I don't think it's going to be raining at 7 p.m. I think that there is a chance. While I wouldn't put it as a high probability, I also wouldn't say it's 0 by the end of this one. I would say something would have to speed this up significantly to get in before 9. So I think that especially in the start of this, we're looking good for the Crashers. We'll watch closely as we go towards the end of this. Rick, somebody is saying, I'm in Summersville. Oh, what should I expect? And by the way, Pete has asked this question several times, so I'm going to let you answer this. Summersville, severe weather potential, and Pete's asking Fern Creek 3 to 10.
Okay, first off, Summersville, the opportunity isn't there until after midnight. So you don't have to worry. If you have something after that, which, you know, if you're doing something, maybe you have work something early Sunday, sure, then it's something you consider. But Summersville during the day on Saturday, you look just fine. It's going to be a breezy one. It's going to be warm. You're going to actually feel a little humidity creeping in late in the day and certainly overnight. And just remember that soupiness, stuffiness, sweatiness, whatever you want to call it, is going to help supply these storms with the moisture they need. And those temperatures holding steady with that south wind, that's going to be the warmth, which does mean, yes, we're going to hang on to those ingredients overnight. But during the day, Summersville, you're going to be in good shape.
And Fern Creek from Pete, 3 to 10 p.m. on Saturday.
3 to 10 p.m. Pete, it's going to be a breezy one, but 3 in the afternoon until 10 p.m., it will not be raining. It's going to be until after midnight that rain chances start to come up in Fern Creek, Pete. So, yes, you are good during that time frame.
So here, Jessica is saying, I am in Okolona. Last time we had heavy rain, we got flooded. Is that a possibility? Jessica, this doesn't look like flooding rains. It looks transient, meaning it does have wheels. It's a powerhouse low. The powerhouse lows normally have very powerful fronts. So when the precip shuts, it normally shuts off. Elizabethtown, Sherry is asking. She's asked a couple times. I'm going to hand this one on to Rick. E-Town, let's go through severe weather potential for E-Town, Rick.
E-Town, it's the same scenario here. You're talking about thunderstorms. Actually, for you, midnight's not the cutoff. I would say it's a little bit later, around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. You get some thunderstorms erupting, gusty downpours. You're going to hear the winds howling. You're going to hear some rumbles of thunder. The rainfall will be crashing down on your roof. Could see a strong storm. If you do, the main threat's going to be gusty winds. I cannot emphasize that enough. That strong winds coming down are certainly possible, but not likely. Most likely, we're going to see strong storms, neighborhood wind gusts around 40 miles per hour. It would take the right type of storm to tap into a lot of that wind energy aloft, Mark.
So we think it'd be more rogue.
It's certainly more rogue. Maybe hate to put a number on it, but 2-3 warnings.
Yeah, you kind of are in the same I think area that I'm in, and that you just can't rule out a warning.
You can't. And sometimes certain storms just they behave a little worse than others, and they can produce a warning where usually it's localized. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about, sometimes we have these lines come in, and we call them blanket warnings, but it's like almost every single county
yes.
ends up under a warning. This is not that scenario.
And here's a question coming, and this one I'm suspect there's a number of people that would be asking the same question. Sharon is saying, I'm heading to Keeneland on Saturday. On Sunday. How's the weather going to be? So Keeneland on Sunday. The rain is definitely possible early on in the day. The data does indicate that we could still see some showers. It doesn't show all day rain on Sunday at Keeneland. I can tell you it's going to be crazy windy though. So, you know, if you're wearing a hat, my suggestion is I'd pass on that. I don't think that's the best choice for that scenario because I think it's going to be that windy. So I would say don't do the hat. But I don't think it's going to rain all day at Keeneland on Sunday. Bobby is in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Tyler is in here saying any tornado chances around the Indy area. So Rick, this is an area that's going to be near this quasi warm front. I would say in the Indy area, it's not a zero probability,
Higher than here.
which is not to say high,
Right.
but to say slightly higher.
Right. And that's just because that front warm fronts are the worst, we always say, but there's always twisting along those fronts. And if you get storms that link up along those fronts, then yeah, there's certainly a slightly enhanced possibility, but still not through the roof.
Margot just joining us in here out of Radcliffe. What about the Radcliffe area? So Radcliffe, I don't think we're talking about a large severe threat. I would go back to what Rick said, and that is a rogue warning or two is not out of the realm of possibility. And to that, if we get a rogue warning in our area, there is no question it would lean heavily on, if you were to get one, strong winds. Is a tornado warning impossible? There's never a storm system where it's a 0%. But is it high? The answer is no. It is low. So Tina's saying, I'm driving home from Nashville on Sunday around noon. What's the drive to Carrollton going to look like? So I assume that's going to be a 65 north to 71. That 65 is going to be a little tougher because of the wind direction.
You're going to want to have a tight grip on that steering wheel. You're looking at northwesterly winds coming down a north-south oriented road. There's going to be the swaying going on. During these days, I hate being next to 18-wheelers.
Oh,
Is that not? It's the worst. It's the worst.
white knuckle when that happens.
It's
white
not against
knuckle.
the drivers out there, but I just feel like I'm either I gotta go past them or I gotta stay away, because you can see how those winds, those trucks, those big ones, a lot of surface area, they easily can be swayed and pushed back and forth. So I'm just, maybe it's just me being paranoid, but
That's probably true.
Thank you. But I always avoid them at all costs. And even when going by them, couple beads of sweat going by. So yes, the drive will be windy Sunday. There could be some showers at times.
Yeah.
Coming back from Nashville, more gusty showers, not torrential rainfall, but sure, that with the wipers going back and forth and the winds, it's not ideal, but can you do it safely? Absolutely, as long as you take it slow.
Here's a good question. There's two here. I'm going to take the first, give Rick the second. The first one here is, I'm camping this weekend. Is it a bad idea? If you're asking me, am I going to go camping on Saturday night into Sunday with that wind, with potential for some gusty winds within the storm? My answer is no. I would not do it. I just don't think it's worth it. I think there's a lot of downside to that. It's just going to be persistent wind. It's not going to be fun. I think it's too windy for that. And Rick, I'll give you this one. Holiday World on Saturday. Let's see here. Jennifer is asking, I'm going to Holiday World on Saturday. What time would the rain be coming? So Rick, we're now looking at this a little bit further west if we're talking about Santa Claus, Indiana.
Yes.
That does give the advance on a little bit faster. I mean, I think our worst case here, if this thing was rocketing, 9 or 10, I think is probably the fastest it could get to Santa Claus.
And I just for the sake, I'm looking up the hours they're open on Saturday, just so that way.
See, this is the beauty of us having, by the way, in case you're curious what we have, we control our production board from our area here, and sometimes we have somebody in there. I keep my phone behind so I can make sure that everything's going out live. And then Rick and I both have tablets so that we can continue to work. We have access to our 6 weather systems between the two of us, our analysts that we use for radar analysis, our massive camera network. So all of this we use through our tablets and some of the tools and equipment you see on here. Distance, I'm going to guess, from Louisville, 72 miles.
72 miles. Oh, I looked up the time it closed.
Oh,
I can look that up too. If you
no.
want.
What's the
It
time
closes at 10 p.m. It does look like the possibility maybe toward the end, but that would be if the storm sped up. I would say since it closes at 10, you should be just fine.
UK game in Lexington from Eric Peterson. Eric, I've kept a 20% in there. If the data holds it where it is by 10 p.m., I don't think the rain can get there. So, what we traditionally do, and we do what's called probabilistic forecasting. A forecast is not a yes or no generally. I know that that's the way people function. I mean, if you've got a wedding outside, you don't want to hear, there's a 60% chance it's going to rain. You're going to Mark, stop. Is it going to rain or not? Unfortunately, when you work in the atmosphere, because there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of what goes into weather models, there are the partial differential equations that we can't solve, so we estimate. Convection is a real problem, which is thunderstorms. So we use convective schemes in these weather models. What you hear is, well, we're going to approximate here, we're going to approximate here, we're going to approximate here, and then we get it to work. Without the approximations, understand we couldn't get numerical weather modeling to work. There's no way around that. So some of these things are inherent uncertainty, and that's why we have to probabilistically forecast. But in case you're curious, that's what it is. Let's see here. Melody just asked a question. I missed what the question. She said, I missed the live. I'm going to go back and watch it once you post it. So I don't know what the question was. I apologize if I missed the whole question.
Yeah, we try our best. Sometimes they flood in so quickly, it's hard to keep up.
Ray, and let's go now. We're into our last 5 questions here because we got to get ready for the newscast and look at the new data. Remember, the new data is very, very important, and it has shifted at times. As I said, we're going to develop our conceptual model and use the data to help us hone in. Ray out of Jeffersonville saying Max wins. I'm trying to avoid Halloween decor damage. That's a great question, actually. So I'll answer that one. This is from Ray. Ray, I do think that some 35 to 40s are possible. If it's inflatables, deflate them. If it's something on the house that could blow away, I would make sure it's highly secured. If it's on the ground, it's probably going to be just sub wind advisory, but I think it's going to be close here. Another question here.
I just want to mention one last thing.
Okay,
we got something from Amy, and she said her daughter's at the hospital. So I just hope her daughter's doing well. You know, but she's still watching. So
appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate that despite the situation you're in. So again, prayers that your daughter gets better.
Travis is asking, he's saying, I'm camping around Indiana, around Charlestown area. Good or bad idea on Saturday, Sunday?
It's a good idea on Saturday. It won't be a good idea Saturday night. It really depends on what you're into. Like if you're just throwing the tent out, I would be no way. If you have a real sturdy camper, consider it, but just know that it's going to be super windy at night. You're going to get pouring rain. Sunday doesn't look like a complete washout, but it doesn't look fun if you ask me, Mark. I mean, you're talking about gusts up to 40, lots of clouds, and occasional gusty showers.
And temps tanking.
That's kind of the thing. It's like you go out Saturday, the weather and the season that you get Sunday is not going to be the same thing.
Especially by 5 o'clock.
Especially by 5. So you have to look at the weekend as one weekend, 2 seasons. That's how we're going to see that, because Saturday's more summer-like and way more fall-like on the second half of the weekend with falling temperatures, windy conditions, some showers at times. It's going to be kind of soaked. Everything's just going to be wet after that night rain.
So that we started with 5 questions. We've got 3 left now here. This question coming in from Christy. Christy saying, could we say again to what time to expect the rain? She's in Hardin County. So let me give you a window on the best and worst case scenario. So my worst case scenario, worst case would be 10 or 11. I think it's a stretch. The more likely is probably around 1, 2, 3 a.m. Again, I want to give you a window because there still is a level of uncertainty, but that would be the earliest I think that you could get a rain into the area here. Let's see here. Christy is saying, I've just mentioned that one. In Clarksville, Indiana, from Christina, she is curious about what time rain would start on Saturday in Clarksville, Indiana, Rick.
Clarksville, Indiana, Saturday. Clarksville, Indiana, not during the day. This is going to be a night thing. I'd say in the vicinity of around 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the window of time I'd say you'll see the rain begin. You will hear it, and then it will continue much of the night. Along with the rain, you get that wind, and thunderstorms do transition to showers on Sunday. Just to be clear, it's not going to be a constant all-day rain and storm activity on Sunday. But there will be intermittent showers at times.
It doesn't look bad. It actually kind of has improved in the last couple of runs. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be a cloudy, windy day, but the amount of rain looks like it's trended down.
Yeah, it looked like an all-day rain for a couple of days.
It really did.
But that's pulled back. So you can salvage it.
2 more questions here. I'm going to do this one. This is any chances of tornado in Salem on Saturday or Sunday, from Tanya. Tanya, the chance isn't 0. Is it low? Yeah. If we were to see it, it would be overnight. Damaging winds, I think, would be the greatest threat, although I'm telling you it's not ultra high. But I can't tell you that it's a 0 tornado threat. It's just very, very low here.
Right.
So we've got time for one more question. Rick, I'm going to let you choose it.
Sure. Crystal just said it's supposed to get bad tonight. Just to be clear, this is not about tonight. We are talking about Saturday night into Sunday. I do not want you to freak out. Crystal, please. This is not for tonight. We are discussing the severe parameters and potential for Saturday night. Tonight, aside from some clouds moving in later on, it's going to be a quiet, chilly. In fact, many locations will wake up in the 40s by first thing tomorrow.
And next week looks a lot colder.
A lot colder. If the fall feel is really around the corner. It's been warm. Saturday is going to be in the 80s. And then we're not going to make it out of the 60s a bunch of days next week, which...
And Bowling Green has a record, by the way, of 88 on Saturday, which is from 2016 and is not untouchable.
It could be close.
It could be close here. So, guys, if you appreciate our Facebook Lives, please throw us some thumbs up and some hearts across the screen, just so you guys know. We know you're getting bombarded with information that is telling you tornado outbreak or something horrible is going to happen. We know that this happens all the time now. We know that when people open up their feed, that's the first thing they're getting. I don't know exactly why that gets some preference on social, but it does. Just understand what we're trying to do is be a voice of reason. All we want to do is get the forecast right. Rick, there's times where we are going to ratchet it up.
Yes.
Where we are going to use words that make you uncomfortable. We are not going to use those words unless we really feel you need to be uncomfortable and you need to be prepared. We don't want to do that. That is not our goal out of what we do here.
Right. And a lot of the times you see people posting on Facebook or X or even YouTube, and it's a faceless person. It's just, this is our weather brand. We put that out there. We are here looking at you eye to eye because we have such passion and commitment to our craft and to the science of meteorology that we want to be accountable and be held accountable. And well, I've said this 1,000 times, but accuracy is our policy. This is what we strive for every single day, day in and day out. And so that way you know what to expect and you're not relying on someone you don't know who doesn't live in your area who just simply doesn't care. We're here because we care, and I hope just by being here we can prove that, Mark.
And Rick and I have worked together for 13 years. True story. I hired Rick 13 years ago, 2013.
Yeah.
I even remember where we took Rick as a group with me and my news director to lunch. I remember when Rick started on the mornings, Rick came over to nighttime working with me, which has been incredible.
That's crazy,
we really have enjoyed working together. We go through a lot of severe weather together. If you guys have ever watched our lives, you probably, we try to do a live behind the scene when we're doing severe weather. The intensity of what goes on in there, I mean, it's really tense. And we, part of it's because we know seconds matter.
Every second.
So, you know, for instance, getting a, hey, there could be a tornado to, hey, there is a tornado is really, really intense. And a lot of times after the severe weather ends and we kind of know that we can take a breath, sometimes you'll see we even high five each other just because, you know, we got through.
Sorry, I'll let you hang in there.
So we kind of are, you know, we're with you guys with everything. I think I've said this a gazillion times, but we get through all this stuff together. We've been through a lot of bad things over the years. We've gotten through it together. We had a pretty rough spring with a lot of tornadoes in our area. We lost a lot of people in the Somerset tornado. You know, but these things will happen again. You know, I don't think any of us want to be there when this stuff happens, but at the same time, if we can't stop it, we're just going to be here to help you guys out in the best way we can. Hope you guys have enjoyed the new Studio C. It is the new way that we do lives. It is, we think, very, very different. And, you know, so when we start to go into some of these major events, this will be something you see a lot, which is great. Rick, you'll be able to control top right, which is our analyst computer, which we use to determine where tornadoes are.
And usually that's where I'm kind of locked in during severe coverage.
You'll be able to see whatever I want to show you in the main window. So if I want to show you the risk, if I want to show you radar, if I want to show you a specific camera, middle corner there, you're going to be able to see if we wanted to show you all 4 cameras. Let's say now we want to show you graphics. No, let's go ahead and show those 4 cameras a little bit bigger because I want you to be able to see the thunderstorms. No, you know what? I want you to make sure that you can actually see where that risk is. What you start to see here is we have a lot of tools in the toolbox. We wanted to bring professionalism to the lives that are out there. And what we're doing, we think, is going to allow you to get a lot of information in a hopefully digestible way. So if you appreciate the lives, thumbs up on my page. If you don't follow Rick DeLuca, he is on Facebook, he's on X, he's on IG. He's a great follow. We have talked about something that he is going to be launching this winter. That I'm just going to use, can I give one word?
Of course you can, sure.
I'm not. We're going to leave it at one word. We're not going to say anything else.
Okay, that's
So
agreed.
we're going to go through an active when we start to get into our more active season. Hank.
Who knows? Come on, you know Hank.
That's all we're going to say is Hank. Now this will be
It's a good tease.
exclusively
That's a
on
good
Rick's
tease.
page, so you're going to want to make sure that you watch for Hank. That's all I'm going to say. And if you follow his page, you will be able to see. You can also follow us on our YouTube page so that you get alerts, and on my X as well. Appreciate everybody in here joining. Some have asked if we're going to do a live tomorrow night. I'm off tomorrow night. Rick will be here, so if necessary, we would do a live tomorrow night. And obviously, if we have active storms, we're going to be doing lives on Saturday night. So if you don't follow me, please make sure you do, and Rick, because you'll get alerts when we go live. So that's all for tonight's live video. Just a reminder, I'm going to be on WDRB News at 10 with new data coming in. I'm going to be analyzing that, and I get real access to some of the medium range data. And that filters in as we go towards my last weather and into Rick. So Rick and I will be able to conference. I'll be doing top of the hour tonight through tomorrow. 10:22, we'll move into the timeline for the weekend for me. 10:37, I'm going to be going all things severe weather. Rick and I will conference right before that 10:37 weather, and also brief again before Rick goes on at 11. Rick will be dialing in that severe weather potential, and his hits at 11 or 11:20-ish.
Yes, 11:17, 11:20 in that time frame.
So whatever works best for you, we hope to see you guys on WDRB News at 10. We appreciate you supporting us, and we'll see you guys on WDRB News at